And stage 4 is where your business can run, grow, and thrive without you. That's when you're in the power position, because then you can double down. You can still work in your zone of genius and high impact things. Once you understand your own wealth, you can actually see you're way closer than you think.
Freedom feels really powerful. Where do you think that comes from you?
Freedom is ultimately doing what you want, when you want, and the way you want, but it's really about alignment, which is the same thing.
Yeah.
And so oftentimes, all this stuff that we're talking about is like when people get off track of being a fulfillionaire, they're just out of alignment. All of my most happiest moments, my most impactful moments have been in alignment, which is, I'm just replacing those words, alignment and freedom.
Hi, this is JP Newman of Fulfillionaire, and today we have Austin Netzley on the show. And for those of you entrepreneurs who are working your behind off, one simple question for you: what are you working towards? I bet you a lot of you are saying, I'm gonna make enough money so I can find my freedom. But my next guest is gonna challenge that and say most entrepreneurs actually have less freedom because they get caught in the trap of all the trappings of being an entrepreneur. Austin's gonna spend the next 30 minutes with you telling you how not to get caught in the trap that will create misery for you. How do you create fulfillment, joy, structuring your business that ultimately you could go away for 2 weeks as the founder of your company and everything's gonna work perfectly. It's gonna thrive without you. We'll take you down that roadmap, tell you the traps and the pluses and the structure, how you can create that kind of joy and fulfillment for you. Enjoy the episode. And today we have Austin Netzley with me. And I gotta tell you, I've known Austin now for, I don't know, at least 6-7 years.
Yeah, at least 5, yeah.
I know it's really cool having you on the podcast. I finally get to dive deep with you in like your work, which is such incredible work. And I didn't actually realize until I dug in how aligned that we actually are. You know, one of the things I was surprised when I was going through your book and your podcast is that so many people think that being an entrepreneur is going to lead to their ultimate freedom. And for you to kind of like turn that on its head and say, you know what? Like you really explore what freedom is, where most people are talking about how to find money as if money's going to create the freedom or going to create the joy or the peace. Your whole story is just the opposite. Actually, going from corporate, going an entrepreneur, none of that led to freedom. And now through your journey, you're actually helping liberate people, whether it's entrepreneurs, CEOs, or companies, to find true freedom as opposed to just more work. And I love that. We're going to jump into your book, but I love the challenge when I got your book, because I was at your book signing, your book opening. Tell the CEO to take a 2-week vacation and see if the company can run without him as the ultimate challenge. Because I gotta tell you, when I read your book as being CEO of my company, I was like, at the time, now I could do it much more comfortably. That was a really intimidating challenge. I'm sure it is for a lot of people. So we'll dig in there and we'll go through it. But Austin, let me just start with some basics, kind of like who you are, how you got here, what have you. Obviously, 2X is now your consulting company. Is that correct? And that's you're primarily coaching entrepreneurs in companies on how to create, when I say efficient systems, better systems, but the systems of being more efficient and more profitable are really ultimately to create more freedom and more space and time. So it's not just where most companies stop at being like strategic. It's actually for one's liberation. Is that a fair way of describing that well?
Yeah, absolutely. We want people to scale faster with more freedom. And scale is the thing that hooks them in. It's the bacon.
Yes.
But what they really want is freedom and control of their time. And if you have freedom and control of your time, you can actually focus more on the right things that matter, which lead to more success. So it's actually this beautiful thing that works together, that we're going to focus on freedom first to give you more success. And most people try to do the opposite. I love it.
I'm actually going to challenge you in a good way on this because I agree with you. And I know you invest. I know you have your own money that you invest. And I'm also finding the same experience that we're going to talk about later in the show about investing as well. Yeah. $500 million worth of sales, people in your coaching program, $500 million plus in sales. You manage your own portfolio, it sounds like, pretty aggressively with these same standards from what I understand. Author also, not only the 2-week vacation test, your other book, 6 to 7 Figures, which you, as you said to me, people love that book because it's, people love how. People love how to do things, right?
Yeah, well, they want the money, right? And that
they want the money, right?
Revenue, and revenue is vanity, right?
Yes,
it's one of those things that people just get looped in on and get lost in what they're actually trying to achieve. So we have a pretty good process to help people achieve that and get that growth, so people really enjoy that. But the real goal is, again, to do so you have freedom and alignment in your purpose.
That's amazing. And also, if I can just jump right in, I know that you're working good corporate job, making good money, young, doing great, also burning like a lot of people, burning 80, 120 hours a week, probably feeling pretty good. Usually there's a pretty good adrenaline hit with it because I've done that before. I know that in my 20s, I was probably burning 110, wouldn't miss a networking session, never miss a chance to find the next investor. And you find yourself one day with a health challenge that brought you to an ambulance. Like literally your body said to you, I don't want to participate. Can you tell us a little more about that, that experience?
Yeah. So I was in the corporate world as an engineer, and I started looking at people that were 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line, 30 years down the line. I was like, wait a minute. I don't want to be any of them. I'm not jealous of any of them. They were owned by their work. They were overweight. They didn't have great family lives. So I was like, there has to be another way. So I started learning about this thing called entrepreneurship, because growing up, I didn't know any entrepreneurs. I was just not around it.
Well, can I say one thing before you jump into that? How come you were smarter? Because most people, they dream of climbing the corporate ladder. What do you think it was in you based on from your background? Or why would you see it so differently than 99% of the people who dream of just getting the next job and promote? Why do you think you saw it differently? What was it within you?
Well, I had this grand plan that I created at 18 years old, that I figured it out. I was going to be the CEO of a large company. And I was, so that I had this trifecta. I was going to get my engineering degree because I didn't want to do actual engineering. I just wanted the hardest base that was going to get me into business and know numbers and have a good foundation. I was going to then get sales experience because I was super introverted at the time. Couldn't talk, couldn't speak, couldn't, communicate in the proper way. And then I was going to get my MBA. So that was my trifecta that was going to take me up the corporate ladder. And I went and worked for a big oil company, Fortune number 3 oil company at the time. And it was great. It was amazing. I was learning a lot, getting paid really well. And I was in a management development program where they moved you around in a bunch of different roles to basically get you ready for the C-suite. And everything was great. But since I had this grand plan, I knew what the North Star was. I wanted to be the executive. I wanted to be CEO. But that's when I started looking at the path. Right. And I started hearing about other people making a certain amount of money. And I combined these other things that I was hearing outside of this vision that I had working for one of the biggest and best companies in the US, and not being jealous of all these managers. In fact, being the opposite.
That's so cool. It's so unique.
It just connected. When I was going back and applying to get my MBA, I was like right on the cusp of, all right, do I apply and go to that next step, finish my trifecta and really accelerate up the corporate ladder? I was like, wait a minute, let me pause here and look at this. And it was not it. So I stopped applying, didn't go and get my MBA, decided to start my first business instead.
Incredible. And I jumped because your ambulance and your body was really not from the corporate side. You were working really hard for the corporate thing, but the reason why you left was not necessarily your body at that moment. It was really, you're like, I don't want any of this. I don't want to see it.
Exactly.
And then it's when you jumped into your entrepreneurship where you started kind of working the crazy hours.
Exactly.
Is that what happened?
Yep.
So tell us a little like what happened there.
Well, the allure of entrepreneurship is you can create whatever you want. You can have purpose and alignment. You can make a lot of money. You can just have unlimited upside. You have freedom, right? But then
freedom.
But then you start in business, and guess what? You don't have freedom, right? You're doing all the things. You're learning it a lot. You're trying most of the time figure it out yourself, which is what I was doing. And I was still working full time while I was building my first business on the side. And my first business was day trading. So, and I just got heavy into it. And again, numbers background, engineering background. I eventually created my own algorithm, but it was stressful.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, I had to do it because it was so stressful day in and day out, coming from a lower middle class, upbringing where money was just a stressor regardless, let alone seeing thousands of dollars either come or go every couple hours. It was so stressful that I had to automate it so I didn't have that same level of stress, but I still had a lot of stress. But I was doing everything myself. And I was, again, given this allure of, again, wealth and freedom and impact and all these things. And I was just hustling and grinding, trying to figure it all out, that I was working 80, 100, 120 hours a week, just killing myself. And I was 25, 26 at the time. I played college football. And at that point in time, I was like running Spartan races and half marathons. I was super, super fit, but I couldn't think, I couldn't talk. I had no energy. I went to the doctor and I said, something's wrong. And he said, you're the healthiest person. He literally said, you're the healthiest person in my office, and basically kicked me out. And I was not. Like, on the inside, I could feel that something was off. And eventually all this stacked up to, I eventually had a panic attack. And if you've never had a panic attack,
I've had worse. The worst. Debilitating.
It is absolutely debilitating, especially for somebody that's strong and masculine and in control, right? You have no control. And basically every time I would drift off to sleep, I would stop breathing, and then I would just gasp up in bed for breath. And I was with a couple buddies at the time, and finally I had to wake them up. And this was the biggest failure, it felt like, in the moment. is to admit defeat, wake them up and say, hey, something's happening here. I can't breathe. I need you to call 911. And they're like, what? You know, she's like mid-20s, like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
You know, and the paramedic came and checked me out. Everything was fine. And I was telling him a little bit about what I was doing. I was proud of, like, I'm building, I'm working towards this business, my first one and everything. And he just looked at me with so much pity and sadness. And you could just feel that how bad he felt for me, that I was chasing success so hard that I lost sight of everything else that really mattered, and was killing myself in my mid-20s just by
like literally
grinding myself to the bone. And my body was like, hey, this is not going to work. So
your body and your brain, your nervous system
100%.
Also. So panic attacks, obviously a mind, body, soul alarm went off.
Yeah, for sure.
Can I ask you one question before you to continue? You mentioned that you came, did you say from middle class, lower middle class, or middle class family? So was your drive to end, like to show the next generation, like I'm going to take us out of this? Or what was 100%. The feel that was keeping you so driven?
It's a beautiful question. I remember at 8 years old, I had the thought, my parents didn't fight much, but when they did fight, it was about money. And I remember at 8 years old, I had the thought of, I'm going to be a millionaire someday. Didn't know what that meant at 8 years old.
Sure.
You know, I was just like, I'm going to like work hard, save my money, be ahead financially. I'm not going to get in a serious relationship until I'm ahead financially. I'm going to make sure that I never have to worry about money as an adult, that my family never has to worry about it, that we never have to stress about it. So I had money on my mind every single day.
Wow.
Through that time. And finally,
that was really noble. It was a very noble thing. You didn't want your parents to worry. You wanted whatever worry that you were seeing in your house, you wanted to basically alleviate the worry, which is a very noble cause. Yeah. But we do these crazy money stories that somehow don't always work for us, but we don't know. But that's really interesting. So continue. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I had money on my mind every single day until about 27. And finally, at that point in time, I was ahead financially, out of debt, had financial freedom. I was doing hard money loans and making more through that than I was spending at the time. And my expenses were low. So I was free from that standpoint. But going back to the panic attack, so I had that this first time, the craziest experience I had in my life, the scariest experience I had in my life. I shifted some things, but I didn't shift enough. And if you're anything like me, sometimes it takes a couple times to really learn something.
Sure.
12 months later, the same exact weekend with the same exact people, I had another anxiety attack.
Wow.
I had to call 911 again. And that was the true turning point of like, all right, I truly have to do something different here. And after that point in time, I was super burnout. I had gotten ahead financially to get me into the place of freedom of what I needed. But between the oil industry and day trading, there wasn't any purpose in that. There wasn't any soul in that, right? Mm-hmm. So I took time off, and I was so burnt out that I needed at least 6 months for my body to even feel normal. And I took 18 months off. In the last 6 months, I was slowly ramping up towards my next thing, but I traveled around. I took time by myself. I was with, half the time by myself, half the time with other people. But I really needed that time for my body to just reset and get my health back underneath me. And then when I came back, I was like, okay, now I understand the game a little bit. Now I want to do something that's much more aligned with, my purpose, and I feel some contribution element. And that's what led me into one thing that led to the next of working with entrepreneurs.
Was it a little humbling? Because all of a sudden most people never get past escape velocity with money. They dream of making money, but they actually never get to their dream. It's very sad, but it's the truth. You actually were the kid who broke the odds, and you made more money. You said you got to your goal, whatever that goal was. Weren't you a little frightened of leaving what made you the money to go work for a new venture that was the unknown, knowing that you finally, most people would stop at safety, I made it. Yeah. And they get very defensive. Hold on, rinse and repeat what we were doing. And yet you took 18 months off and tried something different, which is really courageous. Yeah. Do you think do you think the panic attack and and the traveling just gave you such a new view on life that it became a not negotiable for you to find something that filled your soul? Do you think it was just a really soul moment of I can't do anything but something like this?
Yeah. It was two things. Number one is definitely there was such a lack of fulfillment in the day trading business that I created that I was like, this is purely a vehicle. At the beginning, I really liked it. I thought it would end up on Wall Street and different things. And as I got into it, I was like, this is not it. This is purely a vehicle to get me ahead financially. Yeah. Right. And once it checked that box to a certain degree, combined with the panic attack and stress, I was like, all right, it's time to move on.
Let me ask you, so as you're going through this, how did it go? Because I know you ultimately came out to your book and your coaching. Where did you start with this? Like, what was your first, like, give me the breadcrumbs of how did you go from I need to do something else?
Yeah.
I need to create value. I don't want to trade paper anymore on Wall Street to like, I need to create value out there. I need to create meaning. Yeah. What were the breadcrumbs that kind of got you to where you are with coaching?
Yeah. Oh, so the second piece is I had so much confidence in myself. Okay. I knew I could take a full reset and I could go and figure something out. Like,
where'd the confidence come from?
I think it came from that early age of being or having to choose myself and take control of my own destiny in my own right. And just like, I kind of isolated myself and like really liked control, which led to some success, but that also limits you from the next level of success that I had to unlearn a lot of that, right?
Sure.
So, but always have had that just through the work ethic that I've had and the results that I put forward.
Did you have any family member that said you were special? Like, was it a mom or a dad thing, or was it just an internal?
Yeah,
kind of
it was definitely my family. We didn't say it a ton, but it was almost, I mean, it was said enough. And it was just a knowing. Like my whole family has a knowing of who each other is, of the specialness.
Really special.
Yeah. Really.
When people ask me, because I was a late bloomer making money, like very late. I had lots of failures before I made money. Yeah. And when people ask me, why'd you keep going? Like, it seems like you should have just taken a corporate job. You were broke at 30. You probably should have taken a corporate job. It was actually my father and my grandfather. They always told me as a kid I was special. Yeah. And I just believed them. Yeah. And it's like, it's very similar to what you were saying where I had that feeling. And it was that resilience that kind of kept me going. So that's cool. It's kind of, you might be the only other person I know who's actually, who I've spoken to, says I had that inner confidence from a young age. Yeah. I totally relate to that.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
So continue.
Yeah. So when I started back after the 18 months, I didn't have a business model. I didn't have a monetization plan. I just started creating. So I started a blog and podcast talking about money and the mindset for young professionals like me that went into corporate. They never teach you anything about that. A little bit about investing, a little bit about entrepreneurship, just the things that I knew. I was speaking to myself 5 years earlier, essentially, right? And I had no intentions with it. I didn't know what I wanted to do. In fact, I was a little bit like embarrassed that I didn't know what I wanted to do because I made 6 figures in the corporate world. I made like good money in the investing and people were asking me and they just assumed that I knew, but I was like, I don't know, you know? But the beautiful thing is like, if you just go towards your passions, all these opportunities are going to open up. And that's what happened for me. So I started a blog and podcast. By the 10th interview, I was like, wait a minute. And I was interviewing successful entrepreneurs. I was like, wait a minute. They're all sharing pretty much the same steps here, the same journey, the same things that they went through, that it was like a playbook just over and over again. That I was like, there's a book here. And by that point in time, I had read a couple hundred books and I was like, someday I'm going to write a book, even though I was not a writer growing up. Right.
That's awesome.
And I wrote a book and that took off from a very small platform, had no social media following and whatnot. And by the time I got the 100th question of, hey, how did you do that from an author standpoint to, get such traction? And the book was not good. It was not good. The ugliest cover in the world. But I did launch very well and it was good enough that it got really good traction. And that led to a book marketing agency of helping author entrepreneurs launch their book, make it a bestseller and use it to grow their brand and back in business.
And you were early, but you were an early pioneer in that.
Yeah.
I know you were. Because I remember like early days of meeting you, like a lot of people were telling their stories. It's really cool.
Yeah, we had so much success helping entrepreneurs get their books out there because self-publishing is so easy for people to do, but you've got to market that book effectively. And we were able to do that. But that's my first time really working with entrepreneurs. And I realized they need a lot of help. There's a lot of opportunity here. And then started coaching entrepreneurs. And that led to a couple of businesses that we have now.
That's amazing. So tell me now, like we're both getting the same page. When you get in there with these stressed out CEOs, I'm sure you and I see a lot of the same things as I've been taking people through my Fulfillionaire workshop and what have you. What is like I imagine it's giving me a stressed out executive, a company that's kind of like lost its kilter. Yeah. Where can you what are the 3 or 4 things you're going to tell them right away between your books and your philosophy? Like where can you make the quickest upgrades? Like if you're talking to the audience now, low hanging fruit or where things can change, what would be some of your most powerful principles that you would be like basically helping people with right now that you talk about? Yeah.
One of the first ones is we come in and the first thing that we look to do is simplify. Right? If we do nothing else but help you simplify, 20% of the marketing channels that you're focusing on, 20% of the projects, 20% just of the business overall. We instantly create a lot more free time and brain capacity for you and the team to be able to focus on more of the right things. So it's very much simplify, then nail the strategy. All right. If there's, two things that you can do, like this quote, give me 8 hours to chop down a tree, I'll spend the first 6 sharpening the axe. Simplifying, getting clear on where you want to go, and getting clear on the strategy of how you're going to get there. That's the 80-20, right? And a key element of the race.
And you find most companies tend to overcomplicate their business, or they're ineffective. It's almost like your room collects. You collect.
Exactly.
You collect programs, you collect things, and you're not even like sharp anymore.
Yeah. So we come into a business, doesn't matter if they're at 1 million, 5 million, 20 million, and we just show them the numbers. They're like, hey, here's reality, right? This is clearly not working. This is losing you money. This doesn't matter because you told me your vision was this, right? It's not aligned. And we show them most of the time we go into a business and we see 40 to 60% of what they're doing is waste. So I mentioned the 20%.
That's a really big deal.
Huge. Imagine if we cut out 40% and just double down on the things that are actually working.
Is that mostly their sales and marketing efforts? Is that what you're saying?
It's all across the board.
All across the board. Just fat.
Yeah, just fat. Yeah. Especially now it's people as well, right? With AI, with systems, with automations that you can do.
Yeah.
I mean, we have clients removing 40% of their staff very quickly.
Yeah. We're going to talk about that later with investments. That's a thing. Do you find that certain companies, because I imagine just like with age, we tend to collect our stuff. Yeah. Do you find that companies that you're working with that are a certain age tend to be more prone to this? Like older they are, the more inefficient they are in some ways. Like,
absolutely. Yeah. And part of that is these things stack up over time. The other part of it is they're not changing with the updates in the economy, updates in their target market situation, update with technology and whatnot. So you've got to be able to be innovative as you're steering the ship.
Which is really hard to do.
It's very hard.
I even say now for Thrive, because we're 20 years old, I always tell my staff, like, we are primed to be disrupted here by AI. If we don't keep up, we are the ones you disrupt. Yeah. And so we really have a big ethos here about really questioning things, not just doing things that we're used to do. And it is probably much harder carrying a legacy of success because you tend to rest on your laurels as a team.
Exactly.
As opposed to being like the next guy I'm competing against is the 24-year-old who's vibe coding right now, who's already figured out how to do my company with 2 employees.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Which is why you need to be free from the day-to-day if you're the business owner or CEO or top executive to focus on innovation. Like you need somebody to drive that. Now, when you're trying to steer the ship in the middle of things and lead innovation, you're just not moving fast enough, right?
I appreciate that. So I know within your book, like the whole 2-week vacation test, like literally try to see if you can get to the point where you can be, the company works without you. Yep. If your company can work without you, the premise of the book for 2 weeks is you probably have a healthy company. You're probably in the right spot. If it can't, you're probably too deep in operations. Is that a fair way to say it?
Yeah, exactly. But not only work without you, you want to have it thrive without you.
I love that.
So we basically say, if you go on a 2-week, no strings attached vacation right now, listening to this podcast, like go on 2
weeks, go away.
Yeah, exactly. What would happen to your business? Right? One of 4 things would happen. Number 1 is it pretty much stop immediately. That means you are the business.
Which is right. You're too tired.
Job. It's business.
Yeah.
Number 2 is it would slowly decline and falter. That means you're too stuck in the business. Number 3 is it would operate okay without you. Wouldn't grow, but it would operate. That means you're able to work on the business, but your business is still reliant on you. And stage 4 is where your business can run, grow, and thrive without you. That's when you're in the power position, because then you can double down. You can still work in your zone of genius and high impact things, but your business doesn't need you day to day to thrive. That really, again, puts you in the power position. You start to acquire other businesses and tuck them in and whatnot, and really grow to the next level.
Cameron Harold, when I had him on my podcast, you know Cameron?
Oh, of course.
He talks about that you need a good number 2. Like your COO, when you pick the right COO who works with your personality, that is the lock of the key that unlocks that freedom for a CEO.
Yep.
Do you find that to be true? Or what do you think are the unlocks?
Well, it's a combination of people and systems. And we focus on systems first because people run the systems. So systems, everything that you do in your business is and should be a system. The problem is most people rely on the systems relying in people's heads, right? And if you lose a person, then you have to start from scratch, or you have inefficient systems. No, we go in, once we're clear on the strategy of like what we're going to do to write things that we're focused on, simplify things out, then we go and show them how to build the proper structure and systems so that they can have a very, very efficient operation. And this then leads to better ability to put somebody in place, whether it's a COO, an assistant, somebody in between. Like you can get a lot out of people and be able to delegate effectively if you have the proper systems. But both of those things, people and systems, are two sides of the same coin.
I really appreciate too, because I can tell you as a legacy company with, it's really hard sometimes to internally see the parts that, you're resisting as a team.
Yeah.
So I can see why it would take like a third party to kind of shine the light on systems and people. And nobody wants to talk about replacing people or what have you. We have a coach right now who's kind of going through our operational efficiency. And we definitely have some, we had a huge wave of success for so many years that you tend to collect some pretty cool things along the way.
Yeah.
But now it's time to trim down.
Yeah.
It's been good. Like legacy can be good.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Austin, I'm curious, as you're helping these companies restructure and optimizing for thriving without the person, how do their lives change? Like what happens for them and to them that they're finding more fulfillment in what they're doing? So
Austin, obviously creating more efficient companies, great. But how does that actually go back to actually creating founders and executives that have actually can find more happiness, more fulfillment? I know for you, it's freedom. Yeah. How do you see the two connecting? Does a more efficient company create a happier and fulfilled CEO? Or is that a whole other thing of a mindset with the CEOs and the staff to liberate your company?
It's actually super interesting. When they first start to get a lot more freedom, they have this crisis of meaning.
It's interesting.
It's really hard to go through. You're like, wait a minute, this used to be my purpose. This, or what they would feel as their purpose, right? They feel needed by their team. They feel needed by their clients. They feel a value. They get the dopamine hit when they're the one that saves the day, right? So they have to go through this shift. But the beautiful thing is we start literally the first conversation before we look at what to simplify and look at all the numbers is we understand what's their vision. Both the vision of the business, but most importantly, their personal vision. And we call it level 10 life. Our friend Hal Elrod has something on level 10 life, but we define it as wealth and freedom and success are all individual. So we want every individual to define what theirs is. For some people, that may be picking up their kids at 3:00 every single day. For some people, that may be hitting a certain financial freedom number so they can have X, Y, and Z in their life of what that means for their day to day, right? Define that whole equation of what success really means for you. And don't say $1 million or $10 million or some general number.
Sure.
Keep asking why until it really means something.
Sure.
Right? So once we have that, then we go and do the business actions to get that. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows right away. We have a lot of clients that we free up from the day to day and they're like, what do I do now?
Sure.
Right?
There's so much identity.
So much identity.
To burn that identity. In Fulfillionaire, we call it the 4 Ps, which is your purpose wealth, your presence wealth, your play wealth, and your people wealth.
Yeah.
And so you think about wealth, it's really because each one of those actually is an emotion. You're really solving for meaning, love, joy, and connection.
Yeah.
And time. And when time really isn't time, it's actually presence. Like, are you living your life? Like right now, peace, joy. Are you distracted? Or are you really fully alive? And I really found that it took my own journey of 20 years to really put things in that framework of how do you find meaning? You got to really spend time. Like, what creates joy and aliveness for you? That's play wealth. Yeah. And people are like, I can't do play wealth. No, you should be doing play wealth because that's actually what connects you to your items. For you, like, what is your purpose at this point? If you were to like look at your own like purpose wealth, what is the purpose of why you do what you do? I know you're working hard. You're constantly driving for more books. You're on the speaker circuit. You're really passionate. What is the fuel? That is this you going back to the stressed out panic attack kid who was 26 and kind of like making means and trying to avoid the next 26-year-old from having to go through that? Or is there something else in it for you?
Yeah, for me, it is about freedom for both me, but also for all the people that we serve. So I feel like I was put on this earth to lead leaders, and the leaders that I chose to serve are entrepreneurs, the ones I enjoy working with the most. And I feel like entrepreneurs are the ones that drive our economy and society in such a big way. So freedom, again, as I shared earlier, is like, it's very custom. So I want people to define what their success is, because like we have some clients that they don't want to scale to the moon. Right. And that's one of the most beautiful things
it's
that somebody can realize.
It's so beautiful to find your own wealth and realize it's not.
Yeah. Because once you understand your own wealth, you could actually see you're way closer than you think.
Always. And it's less
right
than
within
thing too,
reach.
is what I find too. So
Yeah,
many people,
it is.
because they don't know the real number, they keep saying it's a net worth vanity metric.
Yeah.
When you actually break it down, you actually, when you say what you want,
Yeah.
here's the number for what you want, you're much closer than you think.
Yeah.
So you've had the same experience, you found that.
Yeah, exactly.
Why freedom for you? Why do you think, 'cause it's very clear that for you, your word in this lifetime, I'm sure there's many words, but freedom feels really powerful. Where do you think that comes from you with that?
Yeah, I think freedom is the most powerful word for me, but what it really is alignment. And that word came to me last year through all my work and whatnot. It's like freedom is ultimately doing what you want, when you want, and the way you want, but it's really about alignment, which is the same thing, right?
Yeah.
And so oftentimes, all this stuff that we're talking about is like when people get off track of being a fulfillionaire, they're just out of alignment, right? And for me, it's like all of my most happiest moments, my most impactful moments have been in alignment, which is, I'm just replacing those words, alignment and freedom.
Sure.
And
I love that. And that makes the freedom a lot more. Freedom really is alignment, which is when your mind, body, soul are feeling present, peaceful, happy.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep. That's great.
That's super cool.
But one of the biggest things for me is, so I got lost in the business success and whatnot. And then my first nephew was born, and I was living out in California at the time. And my family lives in Atlanta and Charlotte and Ohio and Kentucky, basically all across the country from where I was. And I was like, you know what? I want to be a major part of this kid's life. So I committed to every single month traveling to see my family, which was a big deal to leave my business and my lifestyle and all the things from a time standpoint. And that was one of the best decisions I ever made in my life, to choose what my level 10 life was and go and build my life, my business, and all my work around that, right?
So cool.
And having that freedom. And so that's one of the biggest elements that I love to see and love to support people on, is their family life and their balance there, because I've experienced that and it's been just absolutely priceless. Now he's 12 years old now.
I get it.
And, I just saw him again last month, and now he's, all above my shoulder, and soon he's going to be my height. And it's like, it goes by in the blink of an eye.
Sure, people love.
So look at your 80-year-old rocking chair self moment and look back at what really matters. And let's build, your whole life around achieving that, right? Not getting lost in whatever success is, right?
Amazing. I want to shift with you. I know you're like investing your own money and you're also passionate. Scaling, freedom. Tell me, like, how do you invest your money now? Like, not just like what's your technique and what do you like to invest in, and how do those same principles of freedom and alignment scale into the way you think about investing? Yeah.
First is to be diversified enough that you feel like you're safe, if you will, not over indexed in any particular way.
And I can help for people who don't know how to feel safe.
Yeah.
We can help them define in their nervous system and in their numbers what safety feels like.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Fulfillionaire workshop.
Yeah. 100%. And one of the most important things that you do is to help people get clarity.
Clarity.
Like
100%.
That just, oh my gosh, every time we help people get clarity, their shoulders just drop.
100%.
So like that's
regulate nervous system.
So if you know your numbers and you make some basic smart decisions, that's the first piece, right? From there, for a lot of what I'm trying to do now is I want as much passive income, and passive income is a very dangerous phrase, right? It can be very risky.
It can be. But it can be speculative and people don't even realize it.
Yeah.
Why do you think passive income can be risky?
Because because it's the dream. Is to do nothing and get paid for it.
Sure.
And as a result, there's a lot of sharks out there. There's a lot of models out there that you could feel like you're going to be in a risk-free investment, but then in fact, there's a very, very high risk, right? So a lot of my passive income is through hard money loans. There's not zero risk in that. There's low risk if you do it right. And I think it's one of the best vehicles to do. So that's what I do for.
That's what I do a lot of too.
Yeah. So I love that. I also have, money in
average return.
Interest. 10%.
About 9-10%. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
great.
8 to 12.
Maybe we can compare notes after the show.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And there's ones that'll give you above that, but it's like,
I know, same thing. Back to your point about, I don't think people always value risk, and they don't know how to value it until it's gone. Yeah. Like, oh, that sucked.
Yeah. So I want a certain amount of passive income, a certain amount of long-term buy and holds, and I'm usually pretty heavy cash. And maybe I've been a little bit skeptical over the years that I'm like, okay, well, something's going to crash at some point in time. And with my day trading days, I am able to take out the emotion. So if something goes down substantially that I think is going to be, higher valued in the future, then I'll be able to make that investment. So I'm pretty cash heavy and opportunistic in that way. But the main thing is knowing your numbers, knowing your own expenses, staying within that, and feeling good in all of that, right?
And winning, because one day your passive income, I always say it's first you start with your active income from your job, your passive income from your investments. And once you birth your freedom number, which is the number that gives you all the things you want to do, you get to win. You get to relax those shoulders that you talked about, and you've won. Let me ask you, for those listening to the show that maybe aren't as far as you're at with investments, knowing where the chips are right now in a very dynamic market, exciting transitional times, obviously, and a little murky, a lot of instability. If somebody was just like starting to launch their portfolio with investments, and let's just say they had $2 million to investable and to put out there, how would you do it these days, knowing like opportunities and risk?
First thing is I'll talk to JP Newman.
We can help you with this.
Yeah, exactly. Well, for one of the first things I would say is what not to do.
Great. Tell us what, that's even better. Tell us what to do.
Every single person that I've experienced does once they start to make some money and get to that first level of success, which is to look for a shortcut.
Yeah.
Right. And throw it in these, whether it's a crypto fund or whatever it is that you're looking for an overnight return, don't play that game. Right. And look for some combination of short-term liquidity with long-term buy and holds and things that you, in my opinion, that you use,
that you use or understand,
like at least a portion of in that. So, for instance, like Amazon or Tesla or some of these core ones that you're like, this is just a great company. They do a really good job, right? Some in that. I like Bitcoin as well. I don't understand it fully to sell people on it.
I understand.
I have 10 to 20% in that.
Yeah, how much? 10 or 20%? That's incredible.
Yeah. I buy on substantial dips. So when it goes down 25%.
Our friend Mike Dillon always tells like, Mike, should I buy now?
Yeah. So I would say some combination of passive. I really like a real estate game, but there's a lot of people that are pretty bearish on the real estate and where that's going, because that's where I really wanted to funnel my next level of wealth to. And in fact, I acquired operations.com and we help small businesses optimize their team and operations. I thought about even going into the real estate space because I love it so much to build our back end portfolio, but I'm exploring that right now. So I only have one property right now. So just focused on hard money.
Well, if you ever want to have a chat about that over lunch, I have lots of thoughts of where the strategies are. I've actually been buying pretty aggressively, but I'm cherry picking under a strategy. Some of it's private credit, some of it's preferred equity. We could have a whole show about just that. We could have a lot of fun with that.
Awesome.
Can you explain hard money? Because I don't think some people don't know what that means. When you say you invest in a lot of hard money, can you explain what that is?
Yeah. So the basic premise is you give somebody money, they go and put that to work, they give you a preferred rate on that, and then they return your the money that you gave them. So for instance, let's say you've got somebody that does flips of real estate. You give them $500,000. They go and they use that money to acquire the property, put it in, whatever investments they need to. They're going to give you 10% on that in this case.
And what's the security? When you borrow the money, what are they giving? Are they pledging you anything?
Yeah, so you want to make sure to have proper a listing on the deed. So you usually get the top spot on the deed that if anything happens, you do have the asset backed. So that way, there's some security there. And you want to set it up in such a way that if the real estate value drops even 30 or 40%, that you're still break even from that.
So the market changes, it's 40% down. You don't lend more than 60, 65% of
the value.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's great.
Yeah. So, and they pay you, again, let's say 10% per year. Let's use 12% per year, that they would basically pay the same amount over those 12 months and then return it at the end of 12 months or whatever the terms are. It could change at that point in time. But it's basically you give some money, they go and do something with it, and you get to
I think we'll do an episode on this. I think, because I'm very much, I've had a great success doing that with my own. We've lent almost $900 million of our own money. So I've done quite a few transactions, and I still like to do I like to diversify categories, but we'll talk about that. Last question, legacy question. So you talk about freedom, alignment. So if I see you, which I will, God willing, in 3, 4, or 5 years from now, Austin, and I say, what's alive for you? What's aligned for you? What does freedom feel like now? What did you do from the time we did our podcast that's brought you to a level kind of alignment and freedom and fulfillment?
Yeah.
What does that look like for you?
It's the next phase, which is real legacy, or a part of real legacy, which is building a family. And working towards that, and working on the partner first, and then it's next, and that's going to bring me so much fulfillment in all the ways. Not freedom in the short term, but it's going to bring me alignment, which is what we talked about.
That's so great. Yeah.
And building a family, continuing the family tree is one of the best forms, if not the best form of legacy, in my opinion. So that'll bring so many things together for me.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. As a father who's just recently become an empty nester, legacy, I always say, if you're up for the adventure, it's not an adventure for everybody to be a parent, but if it's an adventure that you want to go down, it's the most incredible, interesting spiritual path of unconditional love. But if you're not 100% in, I'd say, it's not one you have to go down, but it is so fulfilling. I can tell you from a guy who's experienced that, and all kinds of legacy hacks for you we can talk about. Awesome. Thank you so much. I feel like I wanted to talk to you for another 45 minutes, but we'll do it off camera. Thank you so much for coming today, sharing your wisdom. Any final thoughts, any final drops if people want to find you, know more about what you do? How do they find you?
Yeah, operations.com is our main one. Very easy brand to remember there. We've got some great tools to help, gain back your time and freedom, improve your team and operations. But really the main thing is come to the Fulfillionaire workshop.
Thank you.
Get clear on the numbers, get clear on their why, align those important things. Then let's talk about the business stuff second.
We work well together. Thank you so much, buddy.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.